Hey friends, welcome back to the Procrastination Solution Podcast, where we get real about what's holding you back and how to move forward with purpose, clarity, and a solid plan for success. I am your host, Nilo, and I help women just like yourself overcome procrastination for good and achieve your goals. Today, we are talking about what happens when normal human impulses get the best of us and how to regain our focus when those impulses get the best of us. So this is the perfect episode as we discuss fall focus all September long. I hope you find this episode helpful because I'll be honest with you, last week as I was preparing for this episode, I was pulled into different directions by my own human impulses and completely lost momentum. And that's the sneaky thing about impulses. They're not always about big dramatic decisions. Most of the time, they're just little moments of giving in to things, right, that steal chunks of our day. They add up, right? These stolen moments, they add up. They create procrastination without us even noticing it. So why impulses hijack our focus? Let's talk about the science a little bit. So here's what's happening inside the brain. Impulses are tied to the dopamine reward system. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that motivates us toward immediate gratification. Checking your phone, that's a dopamine hit. Grabbing chocolate, dopamine hit. Getting a snack when you're not hungry and you hadn't planned it, that's another dopamine hit. So studies from Stanford universities show that when people delay gratification, they activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for long-term planning and self-control, right? But when impulses win, the limbic system, the emotional reward-seeking system, that's what takes over, right? In fact, research published in the journal Psychological Science found that impulsivity is strongly linked to procrastination because both are about choosing short-term mood repair over long-term goals. And I like that. Short-term mood repair. I like that our procrastination feeds our, short-term mood. So when you give in to an impulse, it's not a failure of willpower. It's your brain defaulting to the path of least resistance, right? So let me just give you, a few examples that you and I as women face daily. Impulses don't look the same for everyone, but for women, they often show up, something like this. So things like, the impulse to scroll instead of working on our business or a project. The impulse to snack when we're not hungry because we're bored or we are overwhelmed. The impulse to say yes to a request even when our calendar is completely full and we have no time to spare. The impulse to, buy ourselves with or things that we think that we might need. I'm talking to myself here, from Amazon lists, but that they're not really actually real needs. These are things that we, think that are gonna fix that emotional need in the moment. So I'm going to go off on a tangent. For example, if I'm feeling anxious about something or if I'm feeling excited about something, it's not always a negative energy. It's, sometimes it's like a positive emotion. Like I'm excited about something, a new season, a new week, and then I'll go and, impulsively shop or buy something. And that's another way that impulses get the best of us. Also like impulses to busy ourselves with cleaning or errands instead of tackling the deep work, right, that moves our goals forward. Now, my audience is mostly women, and it's not to say that these impulses don't show up in men. Of course they do, but I mostly speak to women, so that's why I said, women just like you and I can relate to these. That is why I'm sharing these examples. It's not just women that tend to scroll and, instead of working on business projects, or it's not just women that, impulsively buy things. It's men too. So each one feels small in the moment. Each one of these impulses feels like, it's not a big deal. But over weeks and months, they chip away at our focus and our belief in ourselves, right? Now, let me share with you, some wisdom from productivity and mindset gurus. These are folks that I learn from. I consider them my teachers, and these are just a few of many that I follow on social media, and I read their books and things like that. So James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, if you have not read that book, go out and buy it. Check it out from your library. So he says that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. I love this and I read this every time I read it, like my mind is blown. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So what kind of systems do you have in place? Those systems are going to, either make or break your goals. And impulses, they pull us down because we haven't built systems that make focus easier than distraction, right? Mel Robbins is another one that I love. She talks about the 5-second rule, counting down from 5 and acting before your brain talks you out of something. That's one way to bypass the impulse to procrastinate, right? She talks about, how if she doesn't feel like getting out of bed, she gives herself 5 seconds, counts backwards, and just doesn't allow her brain to go beyond that, and just gets out of bed quickly before she has any additional time to change her mind and stay in bed. So that rule applies to literally anything. It can apply to your Amazon shopping cart. So these thought leaders and so many others, they all point to the same thing, which is focus isn't just about discipline. It's about awareness, about intention and structure. Now, what if instead of letting impulses take the driver's seat, you created a pause between the urge and the action? So there's an urge and then the action follows, right? You don't have to fight every impulse. You simply have to notice it and ask yourself, is this impulse serving my focus or stealing it? Right? Is this for my good or for my demise, right? That one question brings you back to your choice, and choice is the birthplace of change. When you are aware that you have a choice and you make the choice to move forward with your goals, that is when change takes place, right? So I've been practicing this with shopping on Amazon. It's so easy to, get sucked into a limited time offer or sale on an item. I have so many items saved in my cart and in lists, but I've been practicing waiting 24 hours before purchasing items from Amazon. This allows me space to notice the impulse and determine if I truly need the item that I want to purchase, even if it's on sale, right? So the other day I was thinking about sandals, and I, found a pair of sandals. I was like, okay, I'm going to get this. It's on sale, and, it looks comfortable. And then I was like, I'm going to wait 24 hours. And then I realized that I have sandals that are sort of similar to it, but not the same, that I could use for the next month and a half before, the seasons really change and I will be wearing closed-toe shoes, boots, and things like that. So I'm glad I didn't buy those pair of sandals in the moment, because the other habit that I had gotten into, and I haven't done this in a while, and that was buying things impulsively and then, having buyer's remorse, and thankfully Amazon allows you to return, and then, taking the time to go and return the item. That was a waste of energy, a waste of time, a waste of resources, and, so giving myself 24 hours before purchasing something allows me to, not avoid that buyer's remorse and avoid needing to go and return items. So let me move on. Let me share with you a few practical tools to tame, your impulses. These tools are backed by research, and I really hope you can give them a try this week, at least one or two of these items, okay? So number 1 is the 10-minute rule. When you feel the impulse, tell yourself, I'll wait 10 minutes. Studies show that urges peak and fade quickly. Most often than not, they won't feel the same, you won't feel the same pull after waiting. So if you give yourself 10 minutes, I'm giving myself 24 hours with my Amazon purchases. If you step away and give yourself 10 minutes, and then come back to it and see what that pull feels like. See what the intensity of the urge is like. It's like doing a research project, right? Like studying yourself. I find it fascinating. I hope you do too. So you can ask yourself, hey, like that was interesting 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. I felt like this, but now it's not so bad. Or, now it's stronger. Or maybe I need to wait a little bit longer, right? So the 10-minute rule, give that a try. This doesn't apply just to your shopping cart. Obviously, this applies to all sorts of things like scrolling on your phone, calling somebody just to chat because you're avoiding something, grabbing a snack, or, wanting to go through a drive-through even though you're not really hungry, watching TV, all sorts of things like that. Like instead of hitting, play the next episode on your Netflix show, just wait 10 minutes and walk away. Get up and walk away from the TV to see if you really want to watch the next episode. So the 10-minute rule, give that a try. The next one is micro pauses with breath work. So neuroscience research shows that even 2 to 3 deep breaths regulate the nervous system and shifts you from a reactive state to a calm state. So next time you feel an impulse, take a deep breath, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep breaths. Breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. My good friend Katie many years ago taught me the box breathing method. And it's, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold your breath for 4 seconds. So give that a try, right? Breath work, allowing your brain to calm itself, and so that you can get out of that reactive state, right? The next tip that I have here for you is environmental shifts. So out of sight, out of mind, like I was saying with the, Netflix show, instead of hitting, play next episode, maybe you can get up and walk out of the room. Give yourself some time before you, hit that button. This way it will allow you to shift your environment. So a Harvard Business Review article showed that people who placed their phones in another room completed tasks significantly faster than those with phones nearby. And so, this example is about phones, but obviously it allows, it applies to, so many other areas as well. So out of sight, out of mind. And then I wanted to share with you another tool. Is called practice urge surfing. So notice the impulse, name it, like name the urge, and then imagine it as a wave that rises and falls. Like don't fight it, ride the waves. And this is where you can do some of that breath work to bring your brain to like a calm state versus a reactive state. So I wanted to share with you something that my coach Brooke Castillo teaches. She teaches the concept of the urge jar. She talks about putting a bead in the jar when you notice an urge and you don't give in to it, right? So when you don't give in to it and the urge has, calmed down, that's when you put a bead. So it works wonders, and you get better at it with each passing urge that you experience and you don't give in to it. So, such as, for example, the urge to, grab something to eat, even if you're not hungry. The urge to call a friend, like I said, when you really need to focus on a research paper or a project for work. The urge to watch TV when your body needs a rest or sleep. Each time you notice an urge and you don't give in to it, you put a bead in the jar. So give this a try at home this week if this resonates with you. If you don't have a jar and beads, it's totally fine. Use a glass. Use like raw kidney beans or chickpeas. allow yourself to feel proud of those small accomplishments and give yourself kudos for noticing the urge and breathing through it and not giving into it, right? So, this fall, your focus is too valuable to give away to every impulse that pops up in your brain. Every time you resist an impulse and choose intention instead, you are not just saving time, you're building trust with yourself. That's how you actually learn to trust yourself. I remember sending an email, several years ago to my coach, Brooke Castillo, and, her staff answered, I'm sure. But I remember saying something like, I have such a hard time trusting myself. Like, I had this issue with trust with myself. I hadn't built trust. And I remember, somebody getting back with me and telling me to study, certain things that she teaches, but also to look at her podcast episodes. And so if you are a fan of life coaching or self-improvement, definitely recommend her podcast. It's called the Life Coach School Podcast. Listen to it. And she's got over 500 episodes. But I remember her sending me, a handful of episodes to listen to. And I remember feeling like I couldn't trust myself at all. And it was I felt so defeated in the moment, right? So I cannot stress this enough, that when you focus on small little changes, because this is how I build trust with myself. When you focus on small little changes, small little habits, something you can do consistently. If you, fail, get back up, keep going again, you are going to build a trust with yourself. You're going to, the more you celebrate your accomplishments, the more proud you feel of yourself. Your trust in yourself is going to go through the roof. I promise you. So I just hope that you found this episode valuable. I hope that, if this resonates with you, I would love to hear what impulses tend to sort of steal your focus the most. So share it with me on Instagram, DM me at Nilo Burke Coaching. And if you are ready to go deeper and create systems that make focus your default, not your struggle, then come and get on a consultation call with me. Let's talk about how I can help you, achieve your goals and overcome procrastination in, so many areas of your life, because we, tend to struggle with it in more than one area, obviously. So I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.